let us now go back to our session. So we have just finished discussing the portion of the SALN pertaining to real properties. Now let us go to the other kind, the personal properties, as you can see on the screen. If the real properties are immovable, in contrast, personal properties are movable properties. Sa Tagalog, ito po yung ari-arian na gumagalaw, nalilipat. They don't stay in one place. Okay? So this refers to those movables susceptible of appropriation, or all things which can be transported from place to place without impairment of the real property where they are fixed. That is the exact provision of the new Civil Code of the Philippines. Now, pagdating po sa personal properties, yung column po ay mas simple. Kasi hindi po nire-require na iisa-isahin yung pag-declare ng personal properties. Pwede pong magkakasama yan, pwedeng collective declaration. Ang dahilan naman po niyan kasi napakarami yung personal properties, di ba? Damit, gadgets, kung ano-ano pa. Gamit sa bahay, appliances, etc. Pag inisa-isa po yun, kulang yung form. Masyado pong mahaba. That's why the form allows a collective declaration of the personal properties as well as the collective declaration as to when it was acquired. Yung year acquired, pwede pong i-estimate lang or maglagay kayo ng a certain period. It was acquired from this period, for example, from 1990 to year 2020. Pwede yung ganun, range. Bakit? Kasi nga ganun siya karami at hindi natin maisa-isa. Therefore, there will be different periods when these properties were acquired. Okay? Ngayon, kung mapapansin nyo, wala rin yung mode of acquisition kasi hindi natin pwedeng isa-isahin po eh. So, pwedeng magkakahalo rin yung mode of acquisition. Okay? Kaya hindi na po nilagyan yan. But then, meron pa rin pong acquisition cost and amount. Bakit? Because the same rule applies. Kung magkano mo nabili yung property na yun yung acquisition cost. Ngayon, kung collective yan, pwede mong i-apportion o pwede mong i-estimate. Kung susumahin yan, based on your estimate, magkano yung acquisition cost ng lahat ng properties na ito that you collectively declare. Okay? Now, bakit may slash amount? Ito naman ho ang kaibahan. If the personal property that you will declare is in cash, either in the bank or nasa iyo, pagka pera ang i-declare, kung magkano yung pera, yung specific amount, yun po yung ilalagay sa column na yan. Kaya acquisition cost yan is slash amount. Okay? So again, kapag pera, you declare the money. Okay? So personal properties may include, among others, jewelry, appliances, furniture, motor vehicles, and other movable properties, but it's not limited to that. It shall also include investments or other assets such as cash on hand or in bank, negotiable instruments, securities, stocks, bonds, and the like. Okay? It shall also refer to memorial plans. Hindi memorial lots, let me clarify. Yung memorial lots, real properties yun. Pero yung memorial plans, personal properties yun. Pre-need plans and other investment funds such as provident funds and insurance contracts with attached investments. Okay, so Section 33 of the guidelines specifically says that personal properties collectively acquired or of the same nature and kind may be declared generally or collectively. In this case, declarant may write or indicate various years under the column for year acquired. So, ganun ho kadali yung declaration. So, imbes na minsan dahil hindi nyo na matandaan kung kailan nyo na-acquire yung mga properties na yon and considering na iba-iba yan, yung column na year acquired, pwede nyo lagyan ng various years. At acceptable po yun pagdating sa personal properties. Now, bakit mayroong individual declaration as you can see in Section 34? Kasi po hinihingi ng guidelines ngayon that if the personal property is registered with the appropriate government agency, such as but not limited to vehicles, boats, aircraft, firearms, kapag mayroong individual registration yan, dapat individual din ang declaration yan. So you cannot collectively declare that with other personal properties. Okay? Yung mga properties na yan na nire-rehistro ay dapat individual din ang declaration. Kaya kung meron kang mga sasakyan, hindi pwedeng vehicles, various years, hindi pwedeng ganun. Dapat i-declare mo yan isa-isa. Okay? At kailan mo nakuha at magkano yung acquisition cost. Again, we do not factor in the appreciation or depreciation cost. Kaya kung halimbawa, yung sasakyan mo na-acquire mo nung 10 years ago at ang halaga nun ay nasa 500,000 lang, ngayon na after 10 years na halos bulok-bulok na siya, wala na siyang value, ang ilalagay mo pa rin acquisition cost ay kung magkano mo siya nabili 10 years ago. Which is 500,000. Bakit? Because as I have said, the acquisition cost does not change. It is constant. Okay? Sige, now, cash on hand or in bank as well as stock and the like that are in foreign currency shall be converted to local currency for purposes of declaration. Okay. Kung meron ho kayong, of course, pera sa bangko, yung amount na yun mismo, i-declare nyo as personal property. Now, if your money is in foreign currency, i-declare nyo yon in local currency but you will have to make the necessary conversion as of the cut-off date. Okay? So kung annual SALN po ito na ipa-file, kung magkano yung exchange rate as of December 31 of the previous year, yun yung magiging basihan in declaring those foreign currency in Philippine currency in your SALN. Okay? So, i-convert nyo muna at saka nyo i-declare. The amount of money or cash in bank should be the last balance. Again, this is common provisions. No, depreciation cost is not considered in determining the acquisition cost because the acquisition cost is constant, no, hindi nagbabago. Beneficial use is also not considered an asset for purposes of the SALN. Kailangan actual owner ka, hindi beneficial owner lang. Inherited property, if in cash, the amount of money received shall be declared as cash on hand or in bank. So yung ibang magsasabi, kala ko ba kapag binigay, nakalagay no cost, no acquisition cost. Hindi ho, kasi ang property mo na dyan, yung pera na mismo eh. No, everything is measured in cash. So kung meron kang napala na pera, i-declare mo yung pera. No? Kaya nga yung column ng personal property, acquisition cost slash amount. So kung meron kang minana na money, yung amount ng pera na yun, i-declare mo kung magkano man yun. Prices and winnings shall be declared with zero as acquisition cost. But if it consists of cash, the amount of money received shall be declared as cash on hand or in bank. Okay? So, again, madali lang po yung personal properties, no? Hindi siya complicated. Magpunta naman tayo sa liabilities. Ito naman yung mga utang. All liabilities of the declarant shall be declared in the SALN. Dapat lahat ng utang i-declare natin. It shall not include predetermined obligations that the declarant, the spouse, or the children below 18 years of age entered into by a contract such as but not limited to contract to sell or insurance obligation. So, ibig sabihin, wala pa namang conveyed properties to you. No? Halimbawa, contract to sell. Yung nakalagay na babayaran mo doon sa contract to sell, you need not declare that as a liability. Okay? Kasi hindi pa naman napunta sa iyo yung yung property. Okay? Hindi siya liability, although it's an obligation, no? Dahil based on the contract, but it is not a liability na that arises because of the acquisition of the property. No. The property has not yet been acquired. Okay? So hindi mo kailangang i-declare yon as your liability. For purposes of the SALN, predetermined obligation refers to an obligation where there is no transfer of asset yet. Okay, so yun po yung nakalagay sa guidelines. Ha? Kapag wala pang transfer of ownership, hindi pa sa'yo yun, kung ano man yung babayaran mo doon, okay, hindi mo kailangan i-declare yun as part of your liabilities. Ang liability mo ay yung nagamit mo na o nasa iyo na at kailangan mo pang magbayad. So liabilities should consist of the following. So unpaid bills shall be considered a liability if it remains unpaid as of the reckoning date of the SALN. Loans may include those obtained from banks, financial institutions, GSIS, Pag-ibig, and others, such as personal, multipurpose, salary, calamity loans, and the like. The nature of liability is any type of loan or from any form of indebtedness. Outstanding balance is the amount of money that one still owes on the loan as of December 31 of the preceding calendar year. Okay, now let's go to the computation of net worth. Eh di na i-declare mo na ngayon, no? Real properties, personal properties, tsaka yung liabilities. How do you now compute your net worth? Madali lang, easy mathematics. Sum of all assets minus total liabilities. When we say all assets, this would refer to real and personal assets. So yung sum nung dalawa, no, i-add mo lang yun yung iyong assets, minus yung pagkakautang, you will come up with your net worth. Okay? So in real properties, the acquisition cost shall be used in the computation of the net worth. In personal properties, the acquisition cost or amount or value of money shall be used in the computation of the total net worth. Again, what are excluded in the computation? If the property does not belong to you, you don't include that in the computation of your net worth. Properties of unmarried children below 18 years of age living in the declarant's household, paternal or capital properties of declarant's spouse. Now let's go to business interests and financial connections. Diba sabi ko nga kanina, it's not enough that you declare your assets. You also have to declare your other sources of income aside from government. And that's the reason why we have this column in the SALN. Besides, these are also required under RA 6713. Okay, so ito po yung portion pertaining to that. Okay, business interests and financial connections. Ngayon, kung wala naman kayong business interests, i-check nyo yung box sa taas. We do not have any business interest or financial connection. Plus, lagyan nyo ng not applicable lahat ng column. Okay, kasi baka may magsingit dyan. Okay, so check and then lahat NA, no? Para wala akong confusion kasi baka mamaya may magsingit, nilagyan nyo nga ng check sa taas tapos may maglalagay naman dyan. That will give rise to confusion. So lahat to may NA para walang blanco. Now, the other column here refers to your relatives in government service. Okay? Kung wala naman, you check that box saying that you do not know of any relatives in government, and then you still put NA or not applicable in the corresponding column. Business interest would refer to declarant's existing interest in any business enterprise, aside from his income from the government. While financial connections refers to declarant's existing connections with any business enterprise or entity, whether as a consultant, advisor, and the like, with an expectation of remuneration for services rendered. So kung stockholder ka, no? Business interest, stockholder ka o kaya part owner ka sa company o kaya yung business mismo, no? Sole proprietor ka, eh di-declare mo yun. Kahit nga po yung maliliit na businesses such as stalls in the market, 'di ba? We have Supreme Court decisions, no, na yung may-ari nun who happens to work in government ay naparusahan kasi hindi niya i-declare yung kanyang stall sa palengke when in fact that is a business interest. Okay? So all business interests will have to be reflected in the SALN. Ngayon, kung ikaw ay working in a private company, no, in your capacity as consultant or lawyer, for example, no, or in any capacity, with an expectation of remuneration, financial connections yun. So ilalagay mo rin yun sa iyong salin, no? Pag hindi mo nilagay yun, that will amount to misdeclaration. So nature of interests, na. Okay? For your guidance, ayan, marami yan. Proprietor, investor, promoter, partner, shareholder, officer, managing director, executive, creditor, lawyer, legal consultant or advisor, financial or business consultant, and the like. Okay? Now, going now to the column pertaining to the relatives in government. So ito po yung column. Doon mapapansin nyo, ang nakalagay dyan, very specific, within the fourth degree of consanguinity or affinity. Kasi requirement po ng 6713 yan, no? You should know how to compute the degrees of relationship, no? Ang nire-require po dyan hanggang pinsang buo kasi fourth degree. Di ba, when we compute the degrees of relationship, ang una niyong titingnan, kanino ba nanggaling yung relationship, no? Kasi yung pinanggalingan ng relationship, isasama niyo sa counting ng degree. Kaya yung mag-ama, yung anak tsaka ama, first degree yun. Kasi yung anak galing sa ama, first degree. Ngayon, yung magkapatid, second degree sila, kasi kapag binilang nyo yung degrees, mula sa iyo papunta sa magulang mo first, tsaka ka ngayon bababa sa kapatid mo. Second, so laging umaakyat doon sa pinanggalingan, no, pag nagko-compute ka. Kaya ang magkapatid, second degree relatives. Ngayon, yung mag-uncle, third degree yun. Bakit third degree? Kasi ang common na pinanggalingan nilang lahat, yung lolo. Ha? Take note, yung uncle mo, hindi naman galing yun sa tatay mo eh. Galing yun sa tatay nila, na lolo mo. So kung ang counting mag-uumpisa sa'yo, mula sa'yo hanggang tatay mo, that's the first degree. Mula tatay mo hanggang lolo mo, second degree rin ang lolo eh. Ha? Tsaka ka ngayon bababa sa uncle. Kaya yung mag-uncle, third degree. At kung may anak si uncle, yun yung fourth degree. Okay? Pinsang buo mo yun. So kasama mo siyang ilalagay sa iyong SALN if that person happens to work in government as well. Kahit saan pa siyang agency of government nagtatrabaho. Okay? Ngayon, kung wala ka namang alam na kamag-anak mo na nagtatrabaho sa gobyerno, you tick the box. But then you still put not applicable in all of the columns here. Kasama yung bilas, balae, and inso. Mukhang mamaya pa may papaliwanag po natin yan. No? Okay? By the way, ang kasama mong i-declare ay yung relatives mo by blood na consanguinity o kaya yung relatives ng asawa mo na within the same degree, ang tawag po doon ay relatives by affinity. Okay? And declaration is only to the best of your knowledge. So ibig sabihin, kung ano lang yung alam mo kasi minsan hindi mo alam na kamag-anak mo pala nasa gobyerno, especially if you have no communication for a while, di ba? Kaya pagdating sa declaration ng relatives, it is only to the best of your knowledge. Ngayon, ano yung balae? Well, for those who are inherently in the Tagalog region, mukhang alam na nila kung ano ibig sabihin nito, no? Kaya ako nakalagay ito sa guidelines kasi nasa batas. Ang balae ay parent of the declarant son-in-law or daughter-in-law. Para hindi malito, no? Kung may asawa na yung mga anak nyo, yung magulang ng asawa ng anak nyo, yun yung balae nyo. O, i-declare nyo sila kung nasa government sila. Ngayon, sino naman si bilas? Okay, ganito po. Kung magkapatid, no? Yung magkapatid, parehong may asawa, yung mga asawa nila, yun ang magbilas. So, ganun ka rin. Kung halimbawa, may asawa ka na, no? Tapos yung kapatid ng asawa mo, may asawa rin. Yung asawa ng kapatid ng asawa mo, yun yung bilas mo. And you have to declare that in your SALN. Ang inso naman is appellation for the wife of an elder brother or male cousin, no? Sino yan sa Tagalog po kasi kapag asawa ng nakakatandang kapatid na lalaki o kaya nakakatandang pinsan, no, na lalaki, ang tawag po doon ay inso, no, sa Tagalog. So ilalagay mo siya sa SALN. Okay? Okay, yun po yung ating mga relatives in government. Now, when you look at this certification part, no, sa first paragraph, nakalagay po dyan, I hereby certify that these are true and correct statements of my assets, liabilities, net worth, business interests, and financial connections, including those of my spouse and married children, etc. And that to the best of my knowledge, the above enumerated are names of my relatives. So ano po kaibahan? Pagdating sa statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth, you guarantee that that is a correct declaration. Hindi po best of knowledge lang. Ha? That is the correct declaration of all your assets, liabilities, and net worth. Pero pagdating sa relatives, best of knowledge lang. As far as you know, those are the people who are related to you who are working in government. Okay? So, I hope nakikita niyo po yung pagkakaiba nun. Ngayon, sa second paragraph, I hereby authorize the Ombudsman or his duly authorized representative to obtain and secure from all appropriate government agencies, including the BIR, such documents that may show my assets, liabilities, net worth, business interests, etc. Ang ibig pong sabihin, through the execution of the SALN, there is an automatic authorization given to the Ombudsman to look at our records in other government agencies. Okay? Kasi ho ang SALN ginagamit din sa pag-imbestiga, no, ng mga cases pertaining to unexplained wealth, etc. Ngayon, ang nag-iimbestiga niyan normally ay ang ating anti-graft body, which is the Ombudsman. Kaya we are giving authority to the Ombudsman to look at our records in other government agencies. But take note, this authorization does not include authority to look into our bank accounts. Okay? Maski government banks pa yan, hindi kasama dito yan. Bakit? Because there is a separate law that protects the secrecy of bank deposits of people here in our country, and that includes us, even if we are working in government. So para mabuksan yung ating mga bank accounts, kailangan ng ating authorization specifically to open the bank account, or if not, there is a need for a court order. Okay? So ibig sabihin, hindi po ito sufficient para ang ombudsman buksan yung ating bank accounts. Sufficient lang ito for other agencies of the government. Okay? Sige. I hope that's clear. Ngayon, signature of declarant, co-declarant, or spouse. Ha? Makikita nyo sa signature page, kailangan lang yung signature ng spouse kung co-declarant siya. Ha? Bakit? Because of this. Declaration should be true and correct statements. Napaliwanag ko na yan. Identification of the relatives is only to the best of knowledge, of declarant's knowledge. No? Is only to the best of declarant's knowledge. Napaliwanag ko na rin yan. Both spouses should sign if they are filing jointly. If the spouse is a private individual, okay, or, okay, maski nasa government din yung spouse but they are filing separately, the signature of the spouse is no longer required in your SALN. So yan po yung bagong rule. No? Kasi dati, nire-require ho talaga natin yan, maski nasa private ba yung spouse, and kung hindi makuha yung pirma, pinag-i-explain natin, di ba? O bakit hindi pumirma yung asawa mo? Under the new rules, hindi na ho kailangan yan. Ha? So hindi na kailangan yung pirma ng iyong asawa dyan sa iyong SALN. Maliban na lang if you are filing your SALN jointly. Okay? Sige. At ito ho ay bunsod ng mga napakaraming klamot, no, na huwag na pong i-require yan because of so many reasons. Pagination, the format should indicate the total number of pages of the SALN in case additional sheets are used. So dapat marunong tayo ng tamang pagination. Page 1 of 3, page 2 of 3, page 3 of 3. Ang purpose ng proper pagination is to avoid insertions or pulling out of the pages. Who can administer the oath? Of course, the SALN must be under oath. No? Kapag nagsinungaling ka sa SALN, ay pwede kang makasuhan ng perjury. Pwede ka rin makasuhan administratively for that. No? Kaya under oath ito. We have to realize the importance of an oath in any document. So ang question ngayon, who can administer the oath? Para humapadali yung ating pag-file ng SALN, pinadali din ho natin yung paghanap ng mga tao who can administer the oath for purposes of SALN. Unang-una, heads of agencies. And head of agency shall include the head of office and or the head of regional offices. Pangalawa, those authorized by the head of the agency to administer oath. So the head of the agency has the power to delegate the authority to administer oath. Pwede siya mag-authorize para mas madali yung administration ng oath for purposes of SALN. Okay? Ngayon, kung ayaw mo naman sa agency head mo or anybody from your agency, edi pumunta ka dun sa mga tao who under the law has authority to administer oath, such as notaries public. Yun nga lang, magbabayad ka pa, di ba? But if you want it, then go ahead. Okay? So pwede sila. And other people with authority to administer oath, no? Those who are authorized by law. Now, the authority to administer oath must be in writing. Of course, yung mga by operation of law ay may authority to administer oath. Wala akong problema dun kasi nanggagaling sa batas yung kanilang authority. But if the authority to administer oath will just be delegated to them by the head of the agency, for example, it must be in writing. Hindi pwedeng walang written basis, no? Yung authority to administer oath. So kung ibibigay po yan sa head of an office, ang gagawin dapat ng head of agency, mag-issue siya ng office order authorizing, no, the head of that particular office to administer the oath of the employees under his jurisdiction for purposes of SALN. And take note, if the authority to administer oath given is for purposes of SALN, hindi pwedeng gawin yun for other purposes. Ha? Dapat sa SALN lang gagamitin yung authority to administer oath. Okay, so the head of the agency may delegate the authority to administer oath to any other public official or employee within his or her jurisdiction, such as regional directors, branch heads, and the like, considering the time limitation of the head of the agency and the number of public officials and employees of the agency. Under special circumstances, the authority to administer oath may be delegated to subordinate employees, such as when the declarant is on study leave abroad or assigned to a remote area. The delegation of authority to administer oath, again, must be in writing. So pinadali po. So wala ho tayong reason na sabihin hindi ako makapag-file kasi walang mag-administer ng oath ko. Marami hong pwedeng mag-administer ng oath for purposes of SALN. Now, in case of joint filing, the SALN may be reproduced. as needed without the need for interchanging the names of the declarant and the spouse or co-declarant and submitted as such to their respective agencies, provided the signatures of the declarant and the spouse are original on all SAL-Ns. Okay? So ibig sabihin, halimbawa joint filing kayo and you belong to different government agencies, yung joint SAL-N na final mo sa isang agency, sa agency mo for example, yun na rin yung SAL-N na ipa-file ng spouse mo sa agency niya. Yun na rin, provided original yung mga signatures. Okay, yun na rin. Hindi kailangan magkaroon pa ng ibang SAL-N, no? Baka yung iba kasi sinasabi, dahil empleyado ako dito, dapat ako yung nakalagay na declarant, no? Ang billing dapat ako. Kasi dito ako empleyado. Siya, co-declarant ko lang. Pero sa agency niya, siya yung declarant, ako yung co-declarant. Hindi yun nire-require yun. So the same SAL-N that you file jointly in one agency can be used in another agency for purposes of joint filing. Okay? Now, alteration, form alteration. Pwede bang i-alter yan? Oh, sinabi ko na kanina, pwede. If minor alteration to the electronic format of the SAL-N may be allowed, provided that the content on the first and second pages and the additional sheet of the SAL-N shall be retained after such alteration. Kaya nga po yung dalawang lines kanina na originally inilalagay natin yun for address. Kung ayaw nyo maglagay ng address, palitan nyo, alisin nyo na lang. Okay? Kung tingin nyo makakagulo lang. Kasi pag in-retain nyo yan sa form, lalagay nyo ng NA yun. Okay? So, pwede nyo nang alisin. Such alterations may include adding or deleting one row or more on one table to accommodate one or more entries to another table. No? Dati ho kasi may mga nagtatanong. Kasi ho, yung nakalagay sa SAL-N form, ilan lang yung lines eh. Pwede ho ba namin dagdagan yun? Meron pa kami idadagdag. Yes, by all means, idagdag ninyo. Basta hindi lang magkakaroon ng substantial changes doon sa mga substantial part of the declaration in the different pages. Okay? Sige. All pages of the SAL-N shall be signed or initialed by the declarant. So dapat lahat ng SAL-N ngayon may pirma sa gilid. Except yung last page kung saan ka nakapirma, yun na yung pirma mo. Copies. All officials and employees shall submit 3 copies of the SAL-N to the HRMO or its equivalent office in the department, agency, or office. The first copy shall be given to the RCC or the Review and Compliance Committee. Okay? For transmittal to the repository agency. The second copy shall be filed in the 201 file, and the third copy shall be given to the declarant as a personal copy. So, 3 copies ang ipe-prepare natin na SAL-N. Now, let's go to review and compliance procedure. Mahalaga rin to, no? Kasi, pag hindi compliant yung SAL-N mo, pwedeng hindi tanggapin. Tapos, bibigyan ka ng directive. Hindi kumpleto ito, gawin mo, no? Pag hindi mo ginawa yon, pwedeng hindi tanggapin yan totally. At kapag hindi ka sumunod doon sa directive at hindi tinanggap yung SAL-N mo, you may be considered as a non-filer. And that automatically is an offense. Of course, we do not want that to happen. That's why we have to know what compliance consists of, no? So compliance consists of filing by the declarant with the concerned department, agency, or office. Nag-file ka sa opisina mo. And the next step is the submission by the department with the proper repository agency. Okay? So nag-file ka sa agency, yung agency mo naman isinabit yung SAL-N doon sa proper repository agency ng mga SAL-Ns. Filing of the SAL-N within the agency, okay, HRMO or its equivalent office through designated HRM officer. So kanino nyo ipa-file? Sa HRMO, doon nyo ipa-file yung mga SAL-N, no? Sa agency level, sa HRMO ng mga opisina. All heads of department, agency, or office shall establish procedures for the review of SAL-Ns. So kaya mahalaga po yung RCC, no? Required po yan ng batas. Now, bakit kailangan may compliance procedure? Under the law, the purpose, okay, of the procedure is to determine whether said statements have been submitted on time, timeliness, complete, and proper form is used. So 3 bagay lang po ang tinitingnan dyan, no? Timely filing, completeness of the entries, as well as the use of the proper form. Kaya mahalaga ho na alam natin yung proper form. And again, ang gagamitin na nating form for the filing this year is the 2025 SAL-N form. Okay? Now, the procedure must also include the constitution of the Review and Compliance Committee or the RCC, which shall be tasked to perform the review of SAL-Ns. So dapat lahat ng ahensya merong RCC or Review and Compliance Committee kasi yung Review and Compliance Committee, yun ang magre-review ng lahat ng SAL-Ns na isinasubmit sa agency ninyo. Good faith. Okay. The public official or employee to whom an opinion is rendered and any other public official or employee involved in a similar or factual situation and who after issuance of the opinion acts in good faith. Yes, kung nakakuha po tayo ng opinion, no? Merong confusion, nakakuha tayo ng opinion from the proper office and you follow that opinion, the compliance with that will be considered as an action in good faith. So, pwede yung ma-admit yung SAL-N as valid. Okay. Upon approval of the procedure, the head of the department, agency, or office shall furnish the CSC with a copy thereof. Now, corrective actions. Pwede bang mag-correct? Yan po yung karaniwang issue before. Pwede pa bang i-correct ang SAL-N? Unfortunately, in the previous rule, wala po itong provisions na ito, ngayon sa 2025 rules, meron na, and this will serve as proper guidance when it comes to correcting our entries in the SALN. Okay, in the event a determination is made that a statement is not so filed following these rules, the Review and Compliance Committee shall so inform the employee concerned. No? So, ini-review ni RCC, o kulang, hindi kompleto, bibigyan ka ngayon ng notice. O, tapos, i-correct mo yun. Pag hindi mo kinorek yun, merong karapatan si RCC na hindi tanggapin yung SALN mo. Ha? So, that's corrective action. Minor correction pertains to corrective action at the initiative of the declarant on a typographical error, mathematical rectification, and explanation of disclosed entries. So, yun, minor correction lang yun. Ha? Ngayon, meron mga substantial correction, yes. Substantial correction pertains to corrective actions at the initiative of the declarant on hidden, undisclosed, or undeclared assets, liabilities, business interests, and financial connections of the declarant. Pwede pa bang i-correct yan? Habang ang SALN ay nasa agency pa. Okay? Nasa inyo pang agency. At meron kang hindi na i-declare na property mo, pwede mo pang i-correct yung SALN to declare that property that you did not declare at the first instance. Substantial correction yun. Papayagan ba yun? Yes, for as long as the SALN is still in your agency. Okay? Minor and substantial corrections to the SALN is allowed after filing with the department, agency, or office concerned and during the implementation of its SALN review and compliance procedure. So again, pwede pa pong i-correct habang ang SALN ay nasa inyo pa. As a matter of fact, ito pong ating RCC, although ang jurisdiction niya is to review the SALN with respect only to 3 areas, no? Timely filing, completeness of the entries, and use of the proper form. Pero kung meron silang knowledge, no, na yung SALN na sinabit ng isang empleyado ay merong hindi na i-declare na property belonging to that employee, na alam na na meron, ha? They can actually call the attention of that person. So that that person or that employee can accordingly reflect the substantial correction in his SALN. Ngayon, if despite the notice, hindi pa rin niya inilagay, lookout niya na yun. Kasi pwede na siyang makasuhan because of that. Lookout niya yun. Now, what if the SALN is already submitted to the repository agency? Ayan, this is a different story. Under Section 96, upon submission of the original SALNs with the repository agency, corrections or amendments in the entries upon the initiative of the declarant shall no longer be allowed. So kung gusto niya mag-correct, nasa repository agency na eh. Hindi na yan pwede as a matter of right. No? Kaya nga binigyan ka ng pagkakataon eh, while the SALN is still in the agency level, i-correct mo na yan. Hindi mo kinorek, okay, nung nasa agency na, tsaka mo gustong i-correct, hindi ka napapabayaang mag-correct niyan. Upon your initiative, it is no longer a matter of right that you can correct it. Okay? Now, in the subsequent compliance on the filing of the SALN, any correction of entries, the non-disclosure of which was unintended or made in good faith shall be deemed a correction of the previous SALNs. So, bagong provision din po ito. Kasi, meron ng mga pagkakataon na hindi nila na-declare yung property dahil hindi nila alam na kanila yung property. They have no knowledge at all. Okay? So, yung iba naman, itinago talaga sa kanila yung property kaya hindi nila alam na meron pa na silang property na ganon. Kung hindi nakasama yung property na yon in their declaration for a particular year, sa susunod na taon, pwede nilang i-declare yun. And that is not an evidence of non-declaration. If the non-declaration in the previous year was in good faith or unintended. In fact, it will be treated as a correction, no? Correction of the entries in the SALN because of this unintended omission. Okay? So pwede po yung ganung mga correction. Now, the review and compliance procedure, including the notification that may be given by the committee concerned in the course thereof, is not a prerequisite to the filing of administrative charges for false declaration or concealment in the declarant's SALN. Okay. Meron pong Supreme Court decision, no, na sinabi doon na for purposes of prosecution kailangan mabigyan ng notice yung filer ng Review and Compliance Committee na hindi niya na-declare itong property na ito. Meron pong ganun, no? Because wala naman po sa rule kasi natin yun nung nakaraan. Ang problema, hindi ho lahat makikita ni RCC kung dinideclare ng filer lahat ng properties niya. Because of the RCC will be tasked to look into the correctness of all the entries. Si RCC po wala nang gagawin yan for the whole year kundi mag-imbestiga ng mga properties pertaining to the filer, no? Hindi naman hinihingi ng batas yun. Ang hinihingi lang sa kanilang ng batas ay mag-examine ng SALN pertaining to timeliness, completion of entries, and use of the proper form. Yun lang naman po ang hinihingi. Okay? So therefore, para maiwasan na yung ganung situation na kailangan pa ng notice sa kanya bago siya ma-prosecute. No? Inilagay po natin dito in a very specific manner na hindi ho siya prerequisite to the filing of administrative charges. Okay? Hindi ho. Kung talagang may kinunsil siya, okay, then he can be prosecuted for that, even if his attention was not called by the Review and Compliance Committee. Okay, bakit? The declarant is responsible for declaring the required information with or without notice. Okay. Now, how about the assumption and exit SALN? Sino magre-review niyan? Si RCC ba? The review and compliance of SALN submitted after Assumption 2 or separation from office shall be performed by the HRMO or the committee designated to review such accomplished SALN or SALNs. Okay? Pero ang may primary responsibility po to review the assumption and exit SALN ay si HRMO, ha? Not the RCC, kundi si HRMO. Repository agency. Ito po sinasabi na natin kanina. Sino ba yung repository agency? Pag sinabi natin repository agency, ito po yung mga agency na kung saan sinasubmit yung mga SALNs natin. At for your information, hindi lang ho iisa yung repository agency. Marami po yan. Depende sa government officials, no? So ayan, no, yung mga repository agencies natin, National Office of the Ombudsman, the Secretary of the Senate, Secretary of the House of Representatives, the Clerk of Court of the Supreme Court, the Court Administrator, the Office of the President, the Deputy Ombudsman, and the Civil Service Commission. So ano-ano yung mga SALNs na sinasabit sa kanila? Ito po specific provision ito ng batas. Sa National Office of the Ombudsman, sinasubmit ang SALN ng Presidente, ng Vice President, ng constitutional officials, such as the chairpersons and commissioners of COA, COMELEC, CSC, Ombudsman, and their deputies. Secretary of the Senate, doon sinasubmit ang SALN ng mga senators. Secretary of the House of Representatives, doon sinasubmit ang mga SALN ng mga representatives o yung mga congressmen, congresswomen natin. Sa court administrator, doon sinasubmit yung SALNs ng mga judges ng RTC, MTC, MTCC, and Sharia District Courts. Sa Office of the President naman, national executive officials such as the members of the cabinet. So OP yan. Undersecretaries, ASEC officials in the Foreign Service, heads of GOCCs and SUCs, officers of the AFP from rank of colonel or naval captain, officers of PNP from rank of police colonel, officers of BJMP and BAP from rank of chief superintendent and up. At sa Supreme Court po naman, dyan sinasubmit ang SALN ng mga justices ng Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, Sandigan Bayan, and Court of Tax Appeals. Ngayon, yung hindi mga nabanggit dito, meaning yung mga karamihan ng government officials and employees sa Civil Service Commission. Okay? Sige, hindi ko na i-discuss itong yung details no nung mga submissions, no. Mahalaga yung karamihan po sa Civil Service Commission. Pero yung iba, we have to know kung saan talaga sinasubmit yan by looking at the lists. Nasa batas naman po yan. Okay. Kailan tayo magsasubmit sa repository agency? Within 3 months from the date of filing of the declarant with the department, on or before October 30 of every year for the annual filing of the SALN, and within 3 months from the date of filing of the declarant with the department, agency, or office for those leaving government service. Okay? So yan po yung period, ha? Kaya actually yung April 30 na annual, hanggang October 30 po yun. Kaya you have all the chances to make substantial corrections in your SALN. Kasi yung October 30, yan po yung submission na sa repository agency. Okay, ngayon, pwede pa bang i-review ng repository agency yung mga SALN na sinabit sa kanila? Pwede, pwedeng hindi. Ha? So when upon review, halimbawa nag-decide silang isa-isahin yung mga SALNs na sinabit sa kanila, when upon review, it is found that the declarant failed to use the proper form or that the form is not complete, the repository agency concerned shall return the SALN to the department, etc. and consider such SALN as not compliant without prejudice to the liability of the RCC for simple neglect of duty. Okay, the department, agency, or office concerned shall then inform the declarant of such non-compliance. Upon receipt, the declarant shall correct or complete the SALN and resubmit the form to the repository agency within 30 days therefrom. Okay, now, kailangan ho ng konting explanation dito. Kanina, ang sabi natin, hindi ka na pwedeng mag-correct kapag yung SALN ay naisubmit na sa repository agency. Yes, as a matter of right on the part of the filer. Hindi na pwede. Pwede lang magkaroon ng correction upon the initiative of the repository agency. So kung sakali si repository agency nagkusa na reviewin yung mga SALNs na sinasubmit sa kanya. Tapos in the course of review, nakita niya na mayroong mga SALNs na hindi compliant doon sa requirement ng rules at saka ng form, pwede niya yang ibalik doon sa agency na nagsubmit. Pero take note without prejudice to the liability of the RCC for simple neglect of duty. Ibig sabihin, nagkaroon ng ganung non-compliant, isinabit nyo sa repository agency, hindi nyo tiningnan mabuti. Ibabalik yun para makorek, pero pwede ho kayong makasuhan dyan for simple neglect of duty. Ngayon, ibinalik sa inyo, ano gagawin nyo? Then you can call the attention of the employee who is not compliant so that he can comply or he can correct his SALN within 30 days. Okay? Ngayon, pag hindi pa rin siya sumunod doon, he will be considered to have not complied with the requirement of filing the SALN. Okay? So maliwanag po generally, wala na pong correction kapag na-submit na yung SALN sa repository agency. Okay? Except if the repository agency itself initiates it. Okay? Initiates it. At nakakita siya ng mga non-compliant doon. It is not a matter of right anymore, but it will be upon the initiative of the repository agency. Okay, let's talk about digital filing and submission of the SALN. Ito po ay nakasama na rin po last time, di ba? Sa dating rule, inaalaw na po natin yung digital filing and submission of the SALN. And this has been contained in a number of resolutions issued by the Civil Service Commission. Okay, so what does it include? It includes online oath taking, the electronic and digital, the use of electronic and digital signatures in the SALN, the online filing, and the online and digital submission. So, pag-usapan muna natin yung SALN online oath taking. So, pwede pala online oath taking? Yes. Sa mga judicial procedures nga, ginagamit na rin yung online oath taking, di ba? So, how do we do this? Oath taking is administered through a virtual meeting between the declarant or the administering officer. Declarant or AO may initiate the meeting. Kahit sino sa kanilang dalawa, meeting may be initiated. Declarant and AO may use wet ink, electronic, or digital signature. Declarant or AO may record the video communication. AO, the administering officer, is required to submit a list of online oath taking administered with certification that the persons listed took their oath before him through virtual meeting. If electronic signature is used, the declarant is required to screen share during the virtual meeting for the administering officer to see the declarant placing the signature in the SALN. Okay, so dapat all the online oath taking ito, dapat makita rin naman, no, ni administering officer na pumipirma yung filer or yung declarant, no? Kasi yun yung evidence na he has taken his oath before he signs the SALN, no, in the presence of the administering officer. So dapat merong screen share na gano'n. Okay? So ito po yung diagram, virtual meeting, AO checks the identity of the declarant, ikaw ba talaga yan, etc. Declarant executes and affirms the SALN using the electronic, digital, or wet ink signature. Pag napirmahan niya na, the declarant will send the SALN to the administering officer. The administering officer will sign using electronic signature or wet ink signature. Pag napirmahan niya na, he will send it back to the declarant. The declarant will receive the SALN and submit to the HRMO. So simple lang po pero dapat kahit online oath taking yan, nakikita ng bawat isa yung ginagawa nila pareho. Okay? Okay. Now, spouses both government employees, in case of joint filing the SALN, mag-electronic filing sila, no? Where spouses who are both government employees jointly file their SALN, the declarant and co-declarant are required to be present in the virtual meetings to affix or place their respective signatures. Take note, joint filing kayo, but you opt to file your SALN jointly, online, or you opted to have your oath administered online, so dapat pareho kayong present in the virtual meeting. Pero kung separate filing naman kayo, hindi kailangan. Okay? Ngayon, hindi kailangan, pero pwede bang andun yung spouse? Pwede. Hindi mandatory, pero pwede. Kung gusto niya makita yung kanyang asawa na pumipirma at nag-online oath taking, ba't mo naman pipigilan? Basta hindi mandatory. Pero kung joint filing, mandatory talaga, na dapat pareho silang nandun. Okay? Electronic and digital signatures are allowed to be used in the execution of the SALN. Now, let's go to online filing. Declarant physically reporting for work or under alternative work arrangement may electronically file the SALN. Filed SALN should be in a non-editable PDF file. An electronic SALN is considered the original and a printout is considered a duplicate original. The date of online filing shall be the date of the declarant's filing of the SALN. Okay? So, maski online, pwede kang mag-file ng SALN mo. Electronic SALN, its submission is deemed substantial compliance with the requirement to submit the SALN. Bakit? In this modern age, no? Allowed po ang paggamit ng advanced technology for all our requirements. So, hindi ho natin pwedeng ibahin itong pag-file ng SALN. Technology should be allowed. No? All departments, offices, or agencies shall establish additional procedures for the review of the electronic SALNs, which shall be limited to determining whether said SALNs have been submitted on time, are complete, and are in proper form. Kasi nga, ito ay online. Kung may kailangang additional procedure for purposes of complete review of all the submissions, dapat to gawin natin yon. Because there has to be safeguards, no? Kasi pagdating naman sa online, and this is one of the downsides, marami hong pwedeng gawing pagbabago na napakadali lang with yung one press of a button. Okay? So there is a need for additional procedures, no, for the review of the filed electronic SALN. Now, let's talk about submission online, no? To repository agencies. Pag digital submission of the collated SALNs by the department, agency, or office to the proper repository agency through the use of the USB, flash drives, or CDs. Kung physical submission, okay, hard or printed copy. Pag online submission of the collated SALNs by the department, agency, or office to the proper repository agency through online means provided such method is made available by the repository agency. Okay? So, tatlong modes. Digital, pag digital, isasubmit mo yan either through USB, flash drive, or CD. Kung ayaw mo naman, edi physical submission ka, lahat ng hard copies yun ang isasubmit mo. Ngayon, pwede ring online submission, provided the repository agency allows that. Kasi kung hindi inallow ng repository agency yung online submission, wala silang means to accept electronically, no? Yung submission mo online, hindi mo rin pwedeng ma-avail yan. Okay? Ngayon, ano yung rules sa online submission? Upon collation, the department, office, or agency has the option to submit the SALNs either physically, digitally, or electronically only, and not a combination of the two or three of the modes allowed. Ibig sabihin, meron kang three choices, pero isa lang ang pwede mong gamitin. You have to make up your mind. Ha? Only one option is allowed to facilitate centralized recording and monitoring by repository agencies. Kung ang napili mong mode of submission through digital submission, the use of USB or flash drive, yun na. Lahat ng SALN sa inyo, dapat nandun na sa USB na yon. Kung meron nag-file ng hard copy, i-scan mo pa yon para mapunta dun sa USB. Tapos yung USB ang ipa-file mo. Ngayon, kung ang napili nyo namang option ay submission of hard copies, dapat lahat nakaprint. Kung isinabit sa inyo yon electronically, ipiprint nyo yon. Tapos pag isinabit nyo sa repository agency, hard copies lahat yon. And then the third one is online submission. Kung online yung napili mong option, all the SALNs will be submitted online. So isang option lang po ang pwede nyong gamitin, ha? Not a combination of two or three of the modes allowed. Now, access to SALN. Mahalaga rin ito. There are new provisions here, no? All SALNs files shall be made available for inspection at reasonable hours upon a valid and lawful request for inspection. Again, SALN is an instrument of transparency. Well, it cannot be so if there will be very strict rules before the same can be accessed. So dapat accessible sa client yan. Of course, we can impose requirements, but those requirements must not be so restrictive, no, as to deny the public of the chance to look at the SALNs of government officials and employees. Okay, so dapat available yan for inspection. For SALNs with CSC as the repository agency, the 2025 SALN request form shall be used. So meron po kaming pinrovide na form. And these rules on access to the SALN shall be subject to the rules established by each repository agency. Take note, ang mga repository agencies ay meron hong power to establish their own rules on how to access SALNs that are submitted to them. But again, we have to adhere to the common provision when it comes to access to SALN. Okay, it shall be made available for inspection at reasonable hours upon a valid and lawful request. In other words, it cannot be denied without reason. Okay, because SALN is an instrument of transparency. Reproduction. The SALN shall be made available for copying or reproduction after 10 working days from the time they are filed as required by law. Any person requesting a copy of a statement shall be required to pay a reasonable fee to cover the cost of reproduction and mailing of such statement as well as the cost of certification. So ito na lang naman yung hinihingi. Di ba? Reasonable fee. Plus, yung magre-request ka, you use the form. Sa form, normally nakalagay doon i-state mo yung reason bakit mo kailangan ng SALN, no? Nung government official or employee na yon. At kailangan naman yung reason ay reasonable din, no? Valid reason. Hindi naman pwedeng for harassment. Okay? So valid reason. And upon a determination that the reason is valid and the reasonable fee is paid, then that person can be given access to the SALN of any government official or employee. Okay? Now, nadidispose ba yung SALN? Yes. All SALN shall be made available to the public by the repository agency for 10 years. After receipt of the statement, after such period, the statement may be destroyed unless needed in an ongoing investigation. Take note, ang retention period po ng lahat ng SALN ay 10 years lang. So after 10 years, wala na po yan sa repository agency kasi i-dispose na nila yan. Maliban na lang, kung nagkaroon ng case at iniimbestigahan, hindi siya madidispose. But generally, 10 years lang po yung retention period. Ha? So after 10 years, dinidispose na po ang mga SALN. Prohibited acts, it shall be unlawful for any person to obtain or use the SALN for any purpose contrary to morals or public policy, any commercial purpose other than by news and communications media for dissemination to the general public. Now, reduction of sensitive personal information. Pwede bang mag-redact? Pwede, especially in the light of the Data Privacy Act. Now, except for purposes of administrative, civil, or criminal investigation, the following information upon evaluation of the concerned official may be shaded or redacted for security and privacy concerns. Name of children, signature, address, identification card number which is indicated in the SALN. Pwede po, no? Kasi po when we were talking about the implication of the Data Privacy Act to the SALN, nag-surface po itong mga to na although this is an instrument of transparency, yung mga information na hindi naman kailangan doon sa transparency with respect to accumulation of wealth, no, na that will compromise the privacy of the filer, pwede nang i-redact, okay, itakpan, no, takpan or isi-shade para hindi makita ng ibang tao. And that's also the reason why pati po yung address ng declarant, no, ay hindi na po mandatory, kaya po inalis na po natin yun. So again, because of the data privacy concerns. Okay. Section 115, all departments, agencies, and offices, including all repository agencies, may establish their own rules on access to SALN subject to the rules set forth in this guideline. So nasabi ko na po ito, lahat po ng repository agencies, pwede po silang maglagay, no? Maglagay po ng sarili nilang procedure on how the SALNs, no, in their custody may be accessed by anyone who wants to access it. Non-compliance, any violation or non-compliance with the provisions of the law shall cause the filing of appropriate action against the public official or employee concerned. The public official or employee may likewise initiate action against any person who obtains or uses a report or document related to the SALN for any purpose prohibited under these rules. Ano ang sanction? Yan po, no? Ito po yung mga offenses. Failure to file the SALN, failure to correct and submit SALN in accordance with review and compliance procedure, non-declaration, misdeclaration, okay, of assets, financial connection, and relatives in government. Those are violations. They're considered offenses. Ano po yung penalty dyan? For the first offense, 1 month and 1 day to 6 months. For the second offense, dismissal from the service. Okay? And this is without prejudice to any possible criminal case that may be filed against the erring government official or employee. Ang head of agency tsaka HRMO, pwede rin hong magka-offense, no? With respect to SALN. Failure to establish or create the Review and Compliance Committee is an offense. It will amount to simple neglect of duty. And since it is a less grave offense, the penalty is the same. For the first offense, suspension of 1 month and 1 day to 6 months. And for the second offense, the penalty is dismissal from the service. Okay, now meron po tayong transitory provisions. Don't worry, malapit na po, no? These rules and the 2025 SALN form, 2025 SALN form AS-1, AS-2 shall be used for the filing of the SALN upon assumption to office, the annual filing, and upon exit from government service upon its effectivity. So since effective na po ito na po dapat yung gagamitin natin. Ngayon, during the transition period, from the effectivity date of these rules, okay na ba siya naging effective? Hindi ba sabi natin September 29, 2025? Yun, naging effective na siya. Okay. Until the end of 2025, public officials and employees who use the 2015 revised SALN form and additional sheets for the 2025 compliance shall be considered to have substantially complied with the requirement of filing the SALN upon assumption of office and upon exit. So kung halimbawa, di September ito, no? Nag-assume ka ng October, ang ginamit mo pa ay yung 2015 form. Valid pa po yun. Nasa transition pa yun eh. Okay? Hanggang end ng 2025, pwede pang gamitin yung 2015 form. Pero pagdating ng 2026, lahat na po tayo, ang gagamitin na natin ay 2025 SALN form. Okay? So sana po maliwanag po sa lahat yan. Okay. This is my last slide, no? It is imperative, sabi po ng Supreme Court, highlighting the need, no, for the accurate and correct filing of SALN. It is imperative that every public official or government employee must submit a complete disclosure of his assets, liabilities, and net worth in order to suppress any questionable accumulation of wealth. This serves as the basis of the government and the people in monitoring the income and lifestyle of public officials and employees in compliance with the constitutional policy to eradicate corruption, to promote transparency in government, and to ensure that all government employees and officials lead just and modest lives, with the end in view of curtailing and minimizing the opportunities for official corruption and maintaining a standard of honesty in the public service. So, wag po nating i-consider ito as a mere ritual, no? Whenever we correctly file or fill out and submit our SALN, isipin po natin that we are complying with a constitutional obligation and we are making a representation to the public that we serve, that we are not unduly enriching ourselves at the expense of public funds. Here is the document that you can inspect to prove that I am that kind of public servant. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Like and subscribe to the L&D channel on YouTube using the link youtube.com/@learntolead channel.